sew along from my home. I've just realised that this is about to come undone. That would not be good. So just checking that you can see all that you need to see. I'm wondering if I can move. I can move nearer. Maybe I can move this a little bit further away. Have I got everything? Yes. It's never as good setup at home, I think, because I feel like I can't get the angle of my tripod in the same way. Let me just see. Bending down in case if I lean that like a funny angle. No, not better. Not better. It's all right. I shall talk about what I'm doing and hopefully you'll be able to see. I'm awake. I am. You saw on my Instagram. So let's see for people joining in. Hello, hello. Rosie is here. She's just signed on to answer your questions. Hi there, Trisha. Say hi to me, guys, and rather say cheers because it's an evening one. I've made myself a gin and tonic. Just thought, you know, it's 6 o'clock. It's G&T time. So I hope somebody else will be enjoying a G&T. Rosie, are you still in the office or are you enjoying a G&T at home? Evening, Tina. Oh, I'm glad it popped up on your phone. That's nice. That's good. So yes, we are here for the Josephine sew-along. And I am, of course, wearing the Josephine. I did a reel, actually, of this version of how I'm wearing it. You need to, Rosie doesn't have a G&T. This is a shame. So yes, you've seen it. There's a reel on our Instagram of me in this and how I'm wearing it and mixing it up. So if you're interested to see that, you can check that out on Instagram. There was no, assume, Rosie, I think all of our Instagram is in the description box below. I hope it is. I think Instagram's just the only one that it's so over at London. Oh, hello in Tennessee. It's midday there. Well, it's probably not G&T time then, is it? Oh, well. I'll have one for you. I have just got in. Wonderful. We've got the link going up to the Josephine Blouse. So the Josephine Blouse is our newest pattern that's just come out in April. Cuffs, lovely wrap tie here. Really elegant, very much inspired by French sort of minimalist chic. You can find the link in the video, great. Very much by the minimalist French chic style. That was what I had in mind when I thought about this. So yes, newest PDF pattern, obviously size is 6 to 30 like all of them. And the best thing to make it in is a nice drapey fabric. So this is a viscose crepe, which is Atelier Brunette, which is lovely and perfect. The only thing I'd say is it really creases and that's not that so great. But this has actually been hanging up in my wardrobe and it's not creased that badly. So, but I think if I put a coat or a cardigan or something on it, it would probably crease. So today I'm not going to make up the bodice in the kind of way the order of the booklet because I felt like that probably wouldn't be that exciting or interesting or even helpful. So I'm just going to do a sleeve. Now we thought we would be super clever by making it out of the Esmeralda in navy. However, this has now sold out, hasn't it, Rosie? And we have ordered more. But if you haven't seen this, I mean, it has just gone whoosh off the shelves, probably because of that amazing video that the team made of all of their incredible Esmeralda outfits, again, on our Instagram grid. But yeah, of all the versions that they made. Oh no, I've just noticed my phone has got 20% battery. That could be a crisis. Let's hope that we're all right there. Hopefully it will tell me when it's 10%. We may have to interrupt by me trying to fashion bringing down my charger. Oh, we like a bit of a drama in a live sew along though. Anyway, yes, they did look amazing, didn't they, Tina? So we're going to do the sleeve. So I've got a sleeve cut out here in the Esmeralda. And as I've just said, this is coming back. So Rosie's ordered more. So therefore, it's usually 6 weeks, is that right, Rosie? We might even be able to get it quicker. It depends on how busy the printers are. So we're going to do this first. I have got instructions here to follow because I haven't, I've literally just come in off the field to do this. So my head has not really been in sewing mode today. I've been on my flower field today. In fact, I've got flowers. You can't really see them, but there's flowers on the table here. So I will be referring to the instructions just to make sure that I'm doing it in the right order and I'm not doing a Lisa and going off-piste. So the first thing we're going to do though is we are going to, it's about 6 weeks. Amazing. Okay, fingers crossed it will come quicker. So first thing we're going to do before we do anything to the sleeve is we're going to do our ease stitching. So we're going to ease stitch from the single notch at the front to the sleeve head to the double notch at the back. I am trying to sort my paddle out, there we go. So when we do an ease stitch, we do it with a nice long stitch length and we don't reverse at the start and we don't reverse at the end. So we're going round and I'm going to do this within the seam allowance. So the first row, I'm doing it 1 centimetre and the second row, I'm going to do it 1.4. I'm sorry that you can't see more of what I'm doing, but my fingers, I've got such dry fingers now. I mean, it's just, look guys, this is a sad state of affairs. How often do you know, have you known me to have such awful nails? What has happened to me? This is not okay. But at the moment, there's just so much to do on the field. I just haven't got time to sort my nails out. And normally I would stick on some nails for you for the sew along. I've not had time to do that. Standards are slipping. My fingers are so dry, they're sticking and catching on the fabric. So this is a second row I'm doing now at 1.4 centimetres. Okay, there we go. So we've got 2 rows, it's easy to see on the wrong side, of ease stitching, which will need to ease the sleeve in. Okay, but so that's all we're going to do there. Now we're going to move on to the cuff and we'll just see how much of the cuff that we will get done. As you can see, I'm making sure that I drink my gin and tonic because I hate it when the ice melts and then it gets watery. Can't have that. So what we need to do is a reinforcing stitch at the cuff because we're going to bind the cuff. But binding it, we're actually, there's no seam here, so there's just a cut into the fabric. So when you cut into the fabric like this, and then I'm trying to think of other times when you might do that, I can't think, but if you're creating an opening with a seam that's not there, you need to reinforce that opening with stitch lines before you then attach the binding or however you're going to finish it, just to strengthen it. So that's what we're going to do. So on the pattern, there is a cuff opening mark here. Okay, so that's got a circle at the top, so you mark that circle and then you cut a notch at the bottom of the line and then you're basically going up from the notch to the circle and then you are going to sew either side of that. So ideally 1 millimetre, no more than 2 millimetres either side of it. So I'm going to work from the wrong side because that's where I've got it marked, and I'm going to start on one side of the line and literally trying 1 millimetre. I think the easiest thing to do would be to line up the middle of your presser foot with the groove in the foot, and then move your needle across. There we go, done. Okay, so I'm just, oh gosh, I've got it on the stitch length. Oh my goodness, I just realised it's really cold in the house. It is almost May and I haven't got heating on it, feeling really cold in a long sleeve top. Right, I'm taking it nice and slowly so that I can really see where that pen line is, keeping my eye on the pen line, on the guideline, and then the needle is doing its thing to the side. And when you get up to the end of the line where the circle is, you're going to pivot. So needle goes in and then we turn around. Rosie is filling in with some more info about this technique. Because it's further away today, I cannot see it. I feel like I need to put glasses on so I can see. the chat. I hate feeling like I'm missing out on the chat. Right, we've pivoted and now we're coming back down the other way. Oh, okay. Now, obviously, you need to keep your, sorry, so use the words, Lisa. You need to keep your groove line back on that pen line so that you're really keeping them close together. So the maximum distance you want to have in between them is 4 millimeters, but I think there I've managed about 2 to 3. So then what we can do is we can cut up. Did I give myself big scissors? No, here we go. Cut up it. Very slowly, so we're just gonna cut up it. I do believe actually I probably should have pressed this before I cut it, but I'll press it afterwards. Oops. You do need to press this flat, ideally before you cut it, because that sets the stitches. So I've always referred to that kind of eye concept as a bit like with hair. You know, when you're curling your hair, you heat it and then it sets. It's a bit like that. So I'm just going to pop that on the ironing board. You can't really see what I'm doing there, but there we go. And then just press it flat. Just to set it. And actually, if you just let that cool, that will be better for the stitches. It will set them more. I'll just trim those threads off whilst I'm waiting for that to cool. And you know what else I can do? I'm gonna have another sip of my green tea. So it is important to do that. There's some warmth, still warmth in there. I'm just gonna let that cool down, and then I know that they will set, and it will just help strengthen those stitches and keep them in the right position. Okay, so now we are going to place that right side up. Can't really see what I'm doing, but it's right side up. I'm going to get the little bit of binding that we've got for the cuff. Now I'm just pressing that flat. Now the binding, we're going to go all the way around, and we're going to line up the raw edges of the binding, I believe. I don't think we're having anything extending. No, we're not. So the raw edges of the binding, lining up. I think I'm going to put my pins in actually like this, with the raw edge at the start. But when you get to the top, and this is where it's going to be really difficult for me to show you this, when you get to the top, we're actually going to stitch it in a continuous line like that. Can you see that? So at the edge of the cuff, it's going to be lined up raw edges together. But as we get to the point, the sort of apex of where we've cut, we're going to have the binding extend beyond the sleeve by about 8 millimeters, 8 to 9 millimeters. So we're going to just, when we stitch that with a 1 centimeter seam allowance, we're just going to just catch the edge of the sleeve, and then we move back down the other side. It's really hard for me to do this in the air. I just can't, because I can't pin it in the right way. So I'll just pin it a bit more and then I'll show you. So you're sort of grading down from where the two raw edges meet at the edge. And then when you get up to this point, then it's moving, the sleeve is moving away from the binding, and the binding extends from by about 8 millimeters. Doesn't help that my hands are literally sticking and picking up the fabric because they're so rough. Oh, if anyone doesn't know what I'm talking about, by the way, I'm setting up another business. I'm setting up a flower farm, and I will be selling British flowers and arranging them and things. You can follow me at Jazzy Rose Flowers on Instagram. I try and work with gloves, and then I just take them off because I get frustrated. I can't feel things. And now I regret it because I've got the roughest hands. It doesn't bode well with sewing. I know that when people were making Diana's dress, I knew somebody who, I think their mum was a seamstress or something on Princess Diana's wedding dress, and they had to get manicures every week. Like seamstresses tend to get manicures regularly. Not manicures so that they have really long nails, but just to get rid of their dry cuticles and things, just keep their nails really neat. If you're working with lace and things that are super expensive, you do not want your nails to be catching on that. Right, there we go. You see that? So we're now going to stitch that from the top all the way down slowly. We're going to start where the two fabrics meet each other, and that's easier. So that's a centimetre seam allowance. Now remember, if you've moved your needle over to the left or to the right hand side, then you need to make sure you put it back into the central position. Oh, you do not get tucked in, you little naughty thing. It's starting to tuck that in. Oh, there we go. It's behaving like a jersey. So little reverse at the beginning. Oops, taking your pins out as you're getting to them. Keeping that, so we're using the edge of the binding as the fabric on the guideline of where we're sewing. Okay, so we're not using the, we're not being put off by the fact the fabrics are no longer aligned together. Just keep your eye on the edge of the binding, and as long as you've got that at the apex points coming out by about 8 millimeters and not much more, that will catch still the sleeve. So I'm there now, so it should be stitching pretty much on top of where the stitching that you just did on the sleeve on the cuff opening, if you use that as a guide. So I'm now stitching right on top of that, and then as we get further down on the other side of the cuff, we're going back to having the fabrics move closer together. We're not following the stitch line now, we're following that edge of the binding. And now I'm pretty much back to the other side and the fabrics are together. So keeping a centimetre seam allowance all the way along. Can you see that? Hopefully that is helpful to see it like that. So I lost a cushion now. So I'm going to cut those threads off. Oh, I did get a big bunch bit there at the back. Cut the threads off. And I'm going to cut the bias binding off. Yeah, and that's for this first start of the cuff opening. Now I just want to check if we're pressing. We're going to press the seam allowance up. Yeah, so we're going to press the seam allowances up towards the binding, and then we're going to press over the other edge of the binding. So I don't think we're trimming. Are we trimming? No. No, I feel like I do need to trim a little bit there. This one, that's one. Yes, so we're going to do a little fold and a fold. First, let's go over to the iron. I'm going to just pivot this so you can see what I'm doing a bit more here. So I'm going to press this. Firstly, we're going to just press the seam allowance up towards the binding. Stage one. I think we use this technique in the Pussy Bow blouse as well, don't we, Rosie? I'm trying to think. I feel like that's the last time I did it. So pressing that seam allowance up towards the binding. And I'm just going to trim away some of this binding that's sticking out. It's just causing me a little bit too much. Just trim a little bit of the binding off, just at the sort of V point there. Can't really see what I'm doing, have you? The secret sew along. No idea what she's doing right now. Okay. So now what we need to do is we need to fold just the little edge over of the binding, that raw edge, so it meets the stitching, and then we're going to fold it over again and encase the raw edges. I am going to trim down a bit more, I think. And then we're going to do something that we very rarely do on a sew along, which is a bit of hand sewing. Ooh, we're going to do a little bit of slip stitching. So I tend not to do that much hand sewing with you because we're usually not at a hem, are we? We're not usually at the end of the garment when we're doing our sew alongs. But also it's really hard for you to see what I'm doing. I am going to do this bit with you. Meow, fiddles, fiddle piddles. Very fiddly. Okay. So just trim away some of this excess seam allowance. Don't trim off your reinforced stitching when it's up at the V. You need it there. We're not trimming that much away. Okay. Let's turn my back. So I've trimmed that down just so there's a lot less to encase. And then I'm going to lay that flat, and my folded line is just going to come over and encase my seam allowance, and then I'm going to put a pin in. So you don't have masses to work with here. It's just a little bit fiddly. It's hard. When I do fiddly things, I find it really hard to torch at the same time, so sorry about that. I'm just using the tip of the pin as well to tuck in any little bits of raw edge of the binding that just keep popping out. Being naughty. So when I used to first teach classes at Sew Over It, all of the classes had lots of hand sewing to finish the garments with. Because I came from a couture background, so there was always a lot of hand finishing, because that was sort of denoted, you know, real attention to detail and beautiful hand finishing of things. But everybody in the classes pretty much hated hand finishing things, so we then had to adapt the instructions over time to be like, remove the hand finishing, because no one wanted to do a hand hem or but personally really like it. But I think for me, because I have hand sewn so much, I can do it quite quickly, and I think the frustration for most people is that hand sewing isn't as neat as a machine sewn thing, but also it's not as fast, obviously, is it? And I quite relish the chilledness of it, but not everybody does. People do like to get on. Okay. So I'm going to show you what I've done in a minute, because I know it's hard for you to see. You see that now, it's all tucked in. So from that side it looks like that, and from this side it looks like that. So I'm now going to get a needle. Although, have I got a needle on here? I'm going to get a needle, excuse me. Tickly throat. I've got an enormous needle. That is no good. I do not want an enormous needle. Oh, here we go, there's a better one. These, by the way, if anyone, Ethel and Joan, who is run by Louise, who used to work at Sew Over It, and she has designed these amazing resin magnetic dishes. I love them. Really cool colours. And she's got her business called Ethel and Joan. You should check it out. I'm sure Rosie can pop a link into it. So I'm just going to get some thread off here, and we're going to slip stitch. Now, I believe on Stitch School there will be a slip stitch video. Rosie, is there a little tutorial on slip stitch? Might even be a free one, I'm not sure. because it is very hard to show you without a real close-up of a camera. But slip stitch you generally do with a single thread, not a double thread. And the idea is that it doesn't show on the right side and that it catches just a small amount of thread on the right side so it doesn't show. Yeah, it was one of our first. Oh, look, Rosie's going to find it. Amazing. I feel like it was one of our first. Like, I remember I filmed that, I think, unless it was Julie. I think it would have been me. Julie's another avid fan of a hand stitch. So what I'm doing, I'm going to try and explain it verbally because you can't really see what I'm doing. But I'm basically using my needle just to tuck in that edge if it pops out. I'm catching a tiny little bit of the outside of the sleeve, like a thread or two of the fabric, moving along and catching the folded edge here. Let's see. Can you see that? That's what I'm doing. And then keeping the tension with my hands in the bias binding. That's a trick as well, sort of holding it like that so that it keeps it taut, because that helps you catch the fabric. So you would find this easier to do with as small a needle as you can cope with threading. I always think for slip stitching, because it is fiddly, but also you need to be able to catch just a tiny amount. And if you've got a big needle, I'd say the needle that I'm using is probably too big. If you've got a big needle, then it is going to be harder for you to do it. I'm not even going to be able to show you this when it's done, because you'll just be like, I can't see it. So if you do a slip stitch well, you won't be able to see it. Ooh, we're down to 10%, but we are halfway, so I think we might just make it, guys. We might just make the sew along with my battery. Fingers crossed. I was hoping to do the whole cuff. I'm not sure if we're going to get that whole cuff done, but if I can get this part finished and maybe the little pleats in the sleeve, I feel like in the cuff of the sleeve, that would be a good part to get to. What is happening here? Getting caught in a little knot. Oh, you're having a tizzy, aren't you? What's gone on there? It's got in a little knot. Bear with me. So I run a little, there we go. I run a craft club in my village where I moved to for Jazzy, mainly. I ran it because there wasn't anything like this in the village for her, and she really wanted to do something. And plus, she doesn't go to school in the village here, so we were keen to meet some other children her age. So I do a fortnightly craft club, and I only had a few of them the other day because for whatever reason it wasn't busy. And so I thought, oh, I'll do sewing with them. And two of them were, well, no, Jazzy's 5, almost 6. There was another girl who was, two girls actually, which were similar age. And one of them completely got it. She just got it. And the other two just kept doing that thing where they forget to keep the thread on the top of the work, and they kept wrapping around and looping. And we were doing these amazing little wooden butterfly kits from Hobbycraft, which are great because it's wooden, you're not dealing with moving fabric. So it's a good thing to start off with, but it was still really challenging. And even though I only had 3 of them, it made me realise teaching children to sew on a scale of more than 3 children is so hard. You really need to do one-on-one if they're that age, I think. Anyway, they enjoyed it, but I think they found it really hard to concentrate on it for like longer than half an hour. So we did drawing and colouring in either end of the club, just so they did a little bit. Because what I definitely don't want to do is kill the love of sewing before it's even got started, and then by them finding it too hard. But yeah, so I think I'm going to try and do a little bit more with Jazzy, but obviously one-on-one, just us. She was getting frustrated as well with things. But these kits are amazing because they come with plastic needles, so they can't hurt themselves. So yeah, it's great. They're really good. I really recommend them. I think they were like £2 each and included the thread, the needle and the little shape which had the holes in it from Hobbycraft. Okay, so almost there at the end now. I always hum when I Hi Coco. Come on then. You want to come say hi? Come on. Poppy and Coco are around. Poppy's on the sofa staring at me. Coco is about to make a cameo appearance, I think. Hi Coco. She usually gets excited by the sound of the sewing machine because she knows that means the bobbing will be going. Okay, right. So you can't see the stitching, but you can see. Hello. Where are you going? In the way. You move out the way. Sorry, taking a phone call. So now what we're going to do is we're going to finish off this little corner here that sticks out. We're going to fold it like so. And we're just going to pin those edges together. And we're going to do a little diagonal stitch from here. So if that's the top of the sleeve there, from here we're going to just do a little diagonal stitch, and that will just finish off the top of this little opening, cuff opening, and help it all sit better. So it's a really short little distance. There's no need to draw it on because it's so short. And just do a little reverse. It's really securing it. And cut those threads off. Okay. Okay, and so what that has done, we need to press it, but that has meant that when we press this like this, we'll press it, it will slightly overlap. If I press it, then you can show on one side. And the cuff opening sort of becomes a bit like a pleat. Okay, so that's the tricky part. Oh, Coco's just gone into the fabric cupboard. Can you see? Can you see her there? Loves climbing into a cupboard. Bless her. So the other thing that I want to try and do then is the pleats. So we've basically, we've done the trickiest bit. That is definitely on the whole blouse. I mean, not if you're doing the scalloping, but if you're not doing the scalloping, I'd say that's the hardest bit, is doing that little fiddly binding piece. So once you've done that, then you're going to just stitch on the cuff. So let's see, we can do though the pleat first. So there is a pleat, and I have a feeling that they didn't get the notches on there, no. So I'm just going to quickly mark those notches on so that we know where we're putting the pleat in. So just let me mark those. And the pleat is going to face the fold towards the back of the sleeve. So the back of the sleeve is basically where the little cuff opening is. So we're going to, because you want the cuff opening here at the back. So we're going to fold those two notches together. Okay. So place them on top of each other essentially. Like that. Okay. Oh, Coco, decide where you're going, darling. Coco's really got big. We've tried putting her on her diet, but she just, oh God, is she going to fall off? She's going for it. Woo! Well done. Her food's up there. So we're now just going to machine tack that in place. So just, oh, I've just realised this has started to come undone again. I think I didn't tie it properly. There we go. Just stitched over it just to anchor it in so we know that that's in place. So when we put the cuff on, we're not faffing around worrying about that pleat coming out. Okay, so that's like that. So the pleat's now done. So the next stage, let's just do this last little bit together, which is joining the sleeves together. A nice bit of easy sewing now, which is always good to enjoy that. You've earned a bit of easy sewing. I always think like that when you get to the side seams. So, oh, I'm going to enjoy these. I've just done a really fiddly thing and now I'm going to enjoy doing the side seams. So right sides together. I have actually pinned this. I just realised I pinned this the wrong way around because I want to start at the underarm, the top of sort of the bottom of the sleeve head here, and I want to work towards the hem, and I've pinned it on the wrong side. That's fine. The pins will just be a little bit fiddlier to take out. So we're now going to stitch that with a nice seam allowance of 4 centimetre and a half seam, 70, well, that's centimetre and a half. 5/8 of an inch. Getting into right. Oh gosh, that thud is Coco jumping off. Doosh! You do make a thud, darling. I can never tell whether it's her or Poppy upstairs now. She's in the doghouse though, or rather the cat house, because she basically yesterday she brought in a lovely little blue tit. It wasn't a blue tit, I think it was a yellow tit. And I don't feed birds at home for the purpose of I do not want to attract them into my garden, only to find that there's a hunter in the garden waiting for them. It very much upsets me at this time of year because obviously they're flying low and they're nesting, and you know, who knows if that bird has little baby birds that's feeding and now they'll starve. She brought it in and she left it in Jasmine's room as a little present for Jasmine. Thank goodness Jasmine wasn't here. Not a present at all, Coco. Reverse here. And there we go. And then you would overlock that as well and then press that towards the back. But I think I'm going to stop there because I'm not going to be able to finish the cuff in one go. So if you overlock that, press that to one side towards the back, and then you can start to put the cuff on. And the cuff actually is quite easy, relatively easy, in that you're just essentially bagging it out and sandwiching the end of the sleeve at the same time. So it's quite an easy one to do. We've definitely done the hardest bit together. So that is it. So just to recap, the fabric I was using was the Esmeralda in navy, which has sold out, so we can't put a link in, but we are getting more back. Rosie, do we have any of the green left? Don't know if we've got any green left, but the navy has been incredibly popular. The Josephine is obviously out now. Anyone can buy the Josephine PDF pattern. No green left either. Oh well. The great thing is, guys, this is one of our fabrics, so we can, just the Gabriella, okay. Because we print this is our design, we can get more, so we will be getting more. So yes, that was the fabric. It was a viscose. I really recommend using a viscose. So if you especially, you know, crepe, you could also make the Josephine out of, but the problem with crepe is it's harder to press, so it is going to be more fiddly unless it's silk crepe. Obviously that's harder to find and more expensive, but polyester crepe is not as easy to work with as viscose. So if you're a beginner, confident beginner, intermediate sewer, then I would recommend doing this in viscose. Okay, trying to think if there's anything else. We are going to have, you definitely want a viscose. Oh yeah, if you're making it with the scallops as well, you would really, because you need to be able to press these scallops flat. So a bouncy polyester wouldn't work. So yeah, definitely viscose for that. What was I going to say? I was going to say something. I don't know. I'll be back with another sew along. We've booked the other sew along in, haven't we, Rosie? So I will be back with another sew along for our next pattern, which I am very excited about because hopefully the weather will be ready for it and we will be making something really, really lovely for a warm spring, early summer. So hopefully the British weather will be playing ball with us for that. So I'll be back to do that one, but I think you will see there are lots of other things going on. Do make sure that you're on the mailing list for Sew Over It, because you'll find out more about all the things. We often have offers of special things going on, so we do put it on social media, but often you guys on social media only will find out about it after everyone on the mailing list. So I'm sure a link to the mailing list will go in the description box. Rosie, is there anything else I need to say, or is there anything else you would like to say before we end the sew along? Speak now, speak now. Birthday treats, of course, yes. Oh, I always forget, because it's now Jasmine's birthday in May, I forget that it was Sew Over Its birthday as well. So, Rosie, we're going to be 12. We are, aren't we? 2011. Yes, we're going to be 12. Our 12th birthday is next week. Woohoo! So, birthday treats happening. Oh, well, that's definitely worth signing up for the mailing list, because I'm sure there'll be some juicy discounts and various special offers and things. And so make sure you sign up for that. Right, I'm going to go now. I don't think there's anything else to say. Thank you for joining me and for chatting. Oh, okay. And there's an extra treat for VIPers. Oh, you VIPers, make sure you've got something good coming your way. Yes, thanks for joining. Don't forget to... what was I saying? Don't forget to like and subscribe, because I think if you subscribe, that's when it tells you that we're going live. So you will have, like, if you thought, oh gosh, I didn't know this was going on. If you subscribe to our channel, it will email you and tell you, oh, Sew Over It's gone live. So it's good. It's a good thing to do. Okay, right, waffle over. Have lovely evenings, guys. Thank you for joining me. Bye.